First of all, thank you again for the most, not just subtle book, but an emotional book, but just completely fascinating. You can feel history unfolding behind your walls. So thank you again. I want to do something which is treading on dangerous territory, which is not to equate the two sides, but to ask you something about the two sides. In the form of two questions. Do you not think that this long drawn-out conflict is gradually corrupting both sides, possibly for several generations? The other question is, do you feel on the Israeli side that there is new forces who refuse to be corrupted, and have you met them and do they read your books and what do they say? And on the Palestinian side, are there people who don't want to subscribe to the mythology of to what has become often a mythology of resistance and independence combined with violence, and that they too are looking for something else? Now this is probably unbelievably idealistic, but I'm asking you to talk about your readers on both sides of the line.
Well, it's very questions, and very important questions, of course. First of all, there's no question that occupation brutalizes both sides. And I have obviously lived through it and seen it. I remember when we were getting sworn statements, affidavits from people in Gaza in particular, and that was in the mid-80s. And I read of how the Israeli army would enter into homes of people and arrest the man in front of his children, the father in front of his children, and the children would be 4 years old, 5 years old, and they would insult the father and so on. I remember distinctly thinking, how are these children going to grow up to be? And the answer is clear now in how, after when Hamas took over, the brutality they committed against Palestinians. So yes, of course. The other thing is the brutalization of the Israeli as well is evident in how much violence, domestic violence, is reported within Israeli families. It's evident in how insensitive. I mean, when you hear of these cases of the soldiers refusing a pregnant woman to enter through because of a technicality, and hear her cry in labor, and then give birth, as happened a few days ago, to a stillborn child. And this has happened in numerous numbers of times. I mean, what kind of a person, a human being, would tolerate this and would allow it just because my instructions are to examine this and that? I mean, it's amazing brutalization. I think there has also been, in the case of the Palestinians, a lot of corruption that I think was due to the oil money. I think the oil money destroyed a lot of the Palestinian resistance. It didn't affect us so much, people who were inside in the occupied areas. It affected more people outside. But then we got people from the outside, and shocking things began to happen which we had never seen before. You asked also about passive resistance and non-violent resistance. There is a lot of it happening, and a lot of it that could have continued. On the Israeli side, there are admirable groups such as Ta'ayush, who have excellent positions, who are willing to take risks, who resist joining the army. Unfortunately, they are not the majority, but their existence is extremely important, and it makes one feel very hopeful. Again, you know, one does not envy the Israeli public. If you are on the Israeli side and if you have so much pressure on you, it's not very difficult to dissent. I mean, it's not an easy matter. Or if you want to be a refusenik from the army, given how militarized the society is, it's a very high price to pay. So I don't know if I was on the other side, I would be willing to pay the price. You know, one has to consider all these matters. On the Palestinian side, I think the Palestinians, I mean, you know, the news is only made by those who commit violent actions. But you could say that the majority of those Palestinians who are living in the occupied territories, tolerating in silence and in small resistance actions, sometimes symbolic, and simply by being there, by tolerating it all, are all involved in a form of passive resistance, non-violent.
Can I just ask one small short? Aren't you sometimes amazed by the patience of Palestinians? Or do you think they should be? Is the choice between anger and patience seems to me a real question for everyone.
I often get these impressions from people who come and say, we spent a week and felt it's so claustrophobic. How could you survive? And the simple answer is you have the luxury when you go in for a week to allow yourself to feel the claustrophobia, feel the impatience. But if you're living there, you pace yourself. Otherwise you'll crack or you will be unable to endure. And I think the same happens when you have an emotional problem or a problem with your family, some calamity. You have to endure it, and you learn how to endure it.